Hello there, and welcome back. My name is Red Downing, and I'm a mass communication master's student with a strong research focus in communication studies and interpersonal relationships. So today's going to be a fairly quick video because I found the perfect example to gaslighting. It's terrifying. It's dramatized because it's in a movie, so it's in popular culture. But that's okay, because if anything, the dramatization might help us better be able to perceive what gaslighting looks like. I actually don't think everybody knows what it feels like. So if they did know, again, we might be able to perceive it better. So I figured, thank you, Audible. I hate advertisements. I figured we ought to define it. Gaslighting, psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self-esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator. From what I know of gaslighting, dependency is the end goal. Apparently everybody loves some dependency, or at least those who use gaslighting. So, let's get right into that example, shall we?
You're not funny, and all the girls at that school wear makeup.
I'm sure all the girls at that school don't put it on with a paint sprayer. For your information, a lot of people think I'm very funny.
Yeah, well, go live with them.
Don't tempt me.
Just a quick point. We can tell there's tension. Guess what they ought to do about it? Sit down and talk about it, but that's besides the point.
Who's the guy in the closet?
Excuse me?
Oh, that's right. Sometimes you forget I'm a detective. See, there's all this steam in the shower like somebody was just in there. Only your hair's dry. So it must be somebody else we're talking about.
Do you see that look? If anything, it's fantastic acting. It's kind of like, come on. I don't know when the gaslighting's going to start.
Mail somebody because the toilet seat's up. Since he's not under the bed, I figured you must have stuck him in the closet when you heard my key hit the lock a day early. So, who's the guy in the closet?
Jesus Christ, nothing changes. You're still a lunatic.
Oh my
Gonna tell
It started. Here's the way she said, so matter of fact. Okay, it started.
me who it is?
You want me to open the closet, Joe? I'll do it, okay? And then we'll both know that you're a fucking psycho. Is that what you want, huh?
No.
Thank you.
The door stays shut. What I'm gonna do is count to 3. And then I'm gonna put a bullet in that door. You can stop me anytime by telling the truth. 1.
Call your shrink, Joe. Call him and tell him that you're fucking losing it.
The truth is a beautiful thing. 2.
How dare you come into this house and pull this?
3.
No!
Oh my goodness. Okay, I've never seen this movie, but now I want to. A lunatic, psycho, call your shrink, you're losing it, how dare you? So the gaslighting technique was used all the way up until the point where, okay, he was going to shoot. I mean, Bruce Willis sure doesn't look like he was bluffing there. I don't think he ever bluffs. So, there you have it. Lunatic, psycho, call your shrink, you're losing it, how dare you? All trying to make him question his sanity. Yeah, that's terrifying. I don't know what's at the rest of this clip, but I suppose we can watch it for kicks if I could talk. Oh my goodness.
Look, Joe.
Keeping it warm for me, Mike?
Easy. Don't do nothing dumb.
How was she? On your finger scale, how was my wife?
She's the one who's crying. Well, I suppose. I suppose she could because she's caught. Maybe she is hurt. Who knows? It's a movie.
It just happened, Joe. It
Sure, I know. It just happened. Could happen to anybody. It was an accident, right? You tripped, slipped on the floor, and accidentally stuck your dick in my wife.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. Gotcha. No more of that. Next, we go to practical applications. All right, let's get into some practical applications. So, first, I'm going to give us some groundwork, and that is going to be my personal experience with gaslighting. I believe I've only experienced it once as far as what I was able to perceive and what stuck in my head. So, I was with a girl, and her and I argued a great deal. We argued all the time. And so, in this particular scenario, we weren't arguing yet, but this discussion we were talking about, I do think was leading up to an argument. And she wasn't the one to talk about these sorts of things. She never liked talking about the relationship. It was more along the lines of, hey, let's do what's easiest and what's fun, which is let's ignore all the problems and do the fun stuff. So I don't even think I'm paraphrasing. She said, you need to go see a therapist because you're crazy. And she put emphasis on the crazy part. And so after that, everything became silent. I'm a very introspective person, and I think she knew that. I think that's what she was gunning for, the silence, so we could diffuse this little discussion. Very introspective. And I paused, and I remember thinking to myself, my goodness, if this girl really does think I'm crazy, maybe I do need to go see a therapist. That easy. One sentence made me question my sanity. So that doesn't feel good. Matter of fact, it feels terrible, awful, all the synonyms for those things. But I want to try and add a little bit more feeling to it just so people might be able to synthesize it of what it feels like. So maybe they're able to discern it. It's pure confusion. It's like, oh my goodness. Because you know you're not crazy and somebody sitting here is telling you that you are. So it's like, what? You may have never heard that before. God forbid you have. That'd be very unfortunate. There aren't many times that crazy is warranted using it as a weapon, especially. And so there's that pure confusion. And I want to say draining, but I chalk that up to a lot of bad things. It wasn't in a sense that it was draining me already, it was in a sense that I was already empty when I heard it. So it was kind of like because I was in my own head so much, thinking about my own sanity, this sort of aura of fear and emptiness was what tagged along with it. So on top of pure confusion, on top of emptiness, on top of fear, on top of contemplation of your own sanity, it just feels bad. It's not good. So, how to deal with these sorts of things. Unfortunately, I don't have the curriculum specifically for gaslighting. I do have the curriculum just for interpersonal stuff as a whole. And that is walking out the door. So, some things you ought to sit down and talk with the person. But if somebody's gaslighting you, they're doing it on purpose. And if the end goal is to become dependent on them, you are in danger. Okay? You are in danger, period. Walk out the door. So, in the moment, it might be hard. Once you're out, you may actually feel when you're out of the pretty dark aura. Everybody talks about vibes, right? Could just be a pheromonal thing, but once you're out the door or just somewhere away from this person, because that what that person is doing is very unhealthy. And it's unhealthy for you, it's unhealthy for them, but in this case, you're more important. So you gotta, ground yourself again. because you're going to be worried. You're going to be fearful that you're actually insane when you aren't. And you know that. So you have to ground yourself. Come back to reality. Understand that, yeah, I'm okay. And we're just arguing, and we aren't handling things in a healthy manner. Once you're away from them for a little while, you can come back and try and sit down and say, listen, I know what you're doing. I don't like it, and you should never do it again. You can be stern in that scenario, and you might have to be. The problem is if they keep doing it, you gotta leave. It's not sustainable. And you are gonna feel the degradation. Maybe the emptiness that I felt was actually draining, but I was already empty from being in that relationship. You get me? It's that I was already empty. I was already drained. But for y'all, if y'all experience that sort of thing, it might be a continual degradation. Hello again. So I felt as if I should clarify. Oh, sorry for the poor lighting and the bad setup. I'm just chilling out here with Monty, and I was looking over the recording and editing and stuff like that. But I wanted to clarify that example because a lot of times it's not that easy to just walk out the door. And so what I meant was that if you perceive something like gaslighting, walk out the door for a little while. Just get away from the person for a little while to ground yourself, like we talked about, realize what's going on, and formulate an argument. Because what's likely going to happen is that if that person's goal is for you to become dependent on them, they're going to be very good at rationalizing, and they're going to be very, very good at keeping you on a string and fishing and luring and reeling and casting and that whole process over again. So, even in the example that I gave, I don't think I left that relationship till about a month after that incident, even when I did perceive something like gaslighting. So, obviously, not that easy. And at the same time, there are times where you're going to perceive that something is wrong, especially when it comes to gaslighting. You're not going to feel well. You may not know why. You may not know it's gaslighting. And so, in the moment, it might be good to get some distance for a little while so you can recharge, so you can formulate your argument because you're likely going to have to talk to them about it. So, yes, a lot of moving parts. So play these things by ear and understand that your alone time and your time to think about yourself and how you're feeling is very important. And I think that's all I have to say. Bonnie's going to say bye. Bye. Oh my God. I guess that's how Monty sounds. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him. So good night, or good afternoon, or good morning, wherever the hell you are. I cannot stop making myself laugh for that dumb voice. I'm going to see you in the next video.